I tested my first Velotric e-bike in 2022, and I've tested a few other models over the past 3 years, including the Summit 1 e-MTB that I purchased in 2024. This year, I have already tested and reviewed the fantastic Nomad 2 fat tire e-bike and the Fold 1 Plus folding e-bike from Velotric, both of which are arguably the best available for those types of bikes. For the past week, I've been testing a new bike series from Velotric with the help of someone who is the perfect customer for this type of bike. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for visiting the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. Please subscribe for more reviews and to support this channel. And if you enjoy the content, share it with your family, friends, and on social media. I have a partner who's going to help me with this review since this new Velotric model is perfect for her casual riding experiences.
Hi, I'm Mallory, his middle daughter, and I've been watching him do e-bikes reviews for years, so I thought it'd be fun to test out one that's built more for me.
Mallory is also a fantastic videographer and edits many of my videos while teaching this old dog new tricks on using Adobe Premiere Pro and my Sony camera. Thanks for the introduction, Mallory. We'll get back to you soon.
Thanks, Matt.
As I mentioned in the introduction, I have tested several Velotric bikes in the past, and the company is hitting it out of the park in 2025. With the most advanced controller and display system I've ever seen on an e-bike. Let's first unbox the Velotric Breeze 1, and then we'll get into the details and our riding experiences. The Velotric Breeze 1 arrived, and I let Mallory run the show. I did pick up the bike and pull it out of the box because it was pretty heavy and I didn't want to completely cut the box open, but then I let her run the show, including opening up the manual, figuring out the boxes that are clearly labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. The manual is very, very helpful and helps to direct things. There's a lot of zip ties and packaging, so we moved that first. And then the next step, of course, was to start with the front wheel and tire. There's a big block on there to remove, and then make sure that the brake block is also removed before you attach the front wheel and tire, but that's pretty easy. The next step after that was to install the handlebars. There's a very specific pattern for putting the handlebar bolts in, and I taught that to Mallory, and she followed that closely to make sure that everything was just right. On the Breeze 1, you also have to install display and the headlight. So we installed the headlight first, and then we installed the display, and then later on had to adjust the display a little bit for the angle to fit her perfectly. It took a little bit of time to get that display and headlight on there correctly. I had the bolts wrong the first time, flipped it around, put it back on there, and then we had to connect all of the loose cables. That was pretty easy. They were color-coded to make sure that all the connections were made properly. The bell was one of the last things, and then of course adding the pedals to the bike, and it was ready to ride. So part of this review is because Mallory is more of the kind of customer that the Velotric Breeze 1 would fit, so I have some questions for her. Mallory, what did you think about the unboxing and assembly experience? As you see in the unboxing video, I let Mallory do most of the work unboxing, and I've done many of them, so I didn't want to intrude. So what do you think about the unboxing and initial experience?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I haven't put together a full e-bike before. I've done bits and pieces with my sister, and I'd say we struggled a bit more. But the directions with this one and the numbered boxes made it really easy. The level of strength that you need, you could totally do on your own. Standing it up, laying it down. It's built for definitely any woman or smaller person to build, and super intuitive, nothing too complicated. And if you watch the video as well to help you, that would help.
So you mentioned the putting it together, and I did pull it out of the box initially just because we were working together there, but can you kind of go ahead and show us what you think of picking up this bike?
No problem. Way easier than it looks.
As you can see, Mallory is a much smaller person than I am, and she has no problem picking up this bike. So you can carry it up the stairs, put it in the back of your car, or whatever you want to do with it. As you saw in the unboxing, Velotric sent along its lovely violet hazel color Breeze 1 in the regular size for us to test out. It is available in either regular or large sizes, with the regular size designed for people from 4'11" to 5'8", and the large size for people from 5'6" to 6'4". Even though I'm 6'1", I was able to enjoy riding the bike around various neighborhoods in Southern Maryland. The Breeze 1 is also available in Ocean Mist, Classic Scarlet, Satin White, and Slate Gray. The Violet Haze has a lovely pearl effect to it as well, and you might be able to see that in some of the pictures and video. And if you're considering this bike, I highly recommend a colorful and fun model. The MSRP on this bike is $1,799. So let's start off in traditional fashion with some key specifications of the Velotric Breeze 1. The frame, of course, is that typical 6000 series aluminum alloy that we've come to know. It weighs in at just 48 pounds, and we'll show a little bit of that later. But it still has a capacity of 330 pounds. Has that 750 watt rear hub motor with 65 Newton meters of torque. The battery is a 48 volt, 13.4 amp hour battery with IPX7 and UL 2270 and 2580 certifications. Like other Velotric bikes in 2025, this bike has that torque and cadence sensor options controlled by the rider. It also has 5 levels of pedal assist with 3 different riding modes, Eco, Trail, and Boost. There's actually ends up being 30 different riding experiences available to riders. Has that left thumb throttle with the power up to 28 miles per hour in pedal assist and 20 miles per hour throttle for class 1, 2, and 3 service. The advertised range on the bike is up to 55 miles for the throttle and 70 miles for pedal assist, and I'll talk about some of our experiences with that a little bit later. Has that Textro hydraulic disc brakes with 180 millimeter front and rear rotors. And as you can see on here, it has the Kenda 27.5 inch by 2.2 inch e-bike puncture resistant tires with the front through axle bolt to make it very easy to loading and unloading quickly and simply. Has a Shimano 8-speed shifting system. Has a front light and rear lights. When I'll go into the rear lights a little bit later because they're integrated into the bottom frame piece, which is very interesting. And those lights serve as both brake and turn signal indicators. Velotric included the new and fantastic 3.5 inch color LCD display with USB-C port for charging up your accessories and your phone. The bike has IPX6 rating for bike electronics, along with that UL 2849 and UL 2271 certifications. And of course, it's a Velotric bike, so it has that wonderful smartphone application and also Apple Find My support. Over on the left, we have that 7-button controller, which at first may be a little bit overwhelming, but I have to tell you, get used to it. It's really easy and it makes the bike super functional. The top button, of course, is for the power. Just press and hold it to turn the bike on or off. The next 2 buttons are turn signal indicators, and they'll actually serve as left and right in the menu later. Over to the right a little bit is a small button with an M on it. That's your menu button. That's going to be a critical button because a press and hold of that will get you into the menu and the settings. And then while you're riding the bike, a press of that will actually let you switch between torque sensing mode and cadence sensing mode. Below that, we have a plus and minus button, which of course is to increase or decrease your pedal assist level. Press and hold of that top button turns on the headlight manually, and a press and hold of the minus button, the bottom button, will put it into walking mode that we'll talk about a little bit later. And then on the bottom, there is one other button. Pressing that, single press of that, changes between Eco, Boost, and Trail modes. It also serves as the accept or select button when you're in the menus. And that USB-C port that I mentioned is way down below. It's on the controller and there's a rubber cover to protect it as well. When you press and hold that menu button and you jump into the settings of the bike, you will find a host of different settings. Most of those are mirrored on the smartphone app, so you could actually use your smartphone app to set those settings, or if you're out on the bike and you're out on the go, you can set those right on the bike itself. These settings include resetting your trip data, switching your riding modes, adjusting the speed limits so you can set those manually from a couple miles per hour all the way up to 28 miles per hour in both torque and cadence sensing modes. The screen brightness, the auto power off. One thing that's kind of unique on the Velotric bike is that throttle limited mode, where you can set the limit to the throttle to match the pedal assist level. So if you have a pedal assist level of 5, you can get the maximum throttle. But if you have that pedal assist level at 1, you will get a minimal level of throttle. And I'll talk about the speeds that I saw in a little bit later in my experiences. The rear light mode is one thing that's really cool on this bike. You can switch it between 3 different types of modes where the rear lights are either flashing or steady, and if you're braking they can be flashing or they can be steady. And the really cool thing is these are integrated into the back frame, so they're much more visible because they're actually on each side of the tire and the wheel, which is much clearer to me than having it on the back of the seat. Sometimes on the back of the seat, those turn signal indicator lights are too close together to really differentiate what you're doing. But when they're on the bike and they're on opposite sides of that wheel and tire, it really makes it clear which way you're going to be turning. With 30 different mode and level options, including torque and cadence sensor modes, I couldn't test every single one of these in the time period that I had to review the bike. I don't have 6 months to test every single mode and share that with you, and I wanted to share my riding experiences with you and let you go ahead and test that when you buy the bike. Since I wanted Mallory to have an opportunity to ride this bike because she's the perfect customer for this type of bike, and I wanted to get her input, which we'll see a little bit later, I tested this bike out in Maryland and not in Washington State. So in Washington State, you know I talk about hills where I live. In this area, we rode in a few hills of 5 to 7% incline, but nothing like my 13 to 15% incline. The bike tackled those hills easily, and it didn't even affect it at all. So give it a test on those hills, and I expect it to perform very similarly to the Fold 1 Plus with about the same level of torque and that 750 watt rear hub motor. Most of the time when we were riding around, it was either with the throttle or the pedal assist. Now, talking about throttle mode, that's a lot of fun on this bike. And in boost mode, with the throttle set to 20 miles per hour max. In boost mode, with the throttle set to 20 miles per hour max. A level 0, of course, there's no throttle speed at all because it's a level 0. Level 1, we saw 10 miles per hour. Level 2, 12 miles per hour. Level 3, 15 miles per hour. Level 4, 17 miles per hour. And level 5 got that full 20 miles per hour. Now, taking that throttle limit and setting that to a 28 mile per hour maximum, we of course saw 0 at level 0, 14 miles per hour at level 1, 17 miles per hour at level 2, 20 miles per hour at level 3, 24 miles per hour at level 4, and 28 miles per hour at level 5. So just talking about those two different levels and the two different modes, there is a lot you can do with this bike to customize it for your riding preferences. These levels change as you customize that maximum throttle speed. So experiment with the bike, find what works for you and find what's perfect, but it's really a joy to ride. Velotric really is the only brand that I've ever tested that offers this level of customization for both torque and cadence sensing modes for both the throttle and the pedal assist. Throttle mode range is advertised, as I said earlier, at 55 miles, but of course I'm much larger than that and heavier than the test person, so I was seeing a range more in line with 40 miles. Because the terrain wasn't completely flat and I weigh in at 235 pounds. Now Mal's probably 100 pounds lighter than me, so her riding with the throttle only showed much longer range. Her riding with the throttle showed longer range on the order closer to 50 miles, which is pretty close to that 55 miles. So I would say the ranges that Velotric advertises are pretty accurate from our testing experiences. We spent most of our time testing in pedal assist mode 3 and 4 and the trail and boost modes because it's a lot of fun to ride this bike and fast is fun. I measured a pedal assist range of about 55 miles, while Mallory's riding results with a pedal assist showed more like 62, 65 miles, which is pretty close to that 70 mile reported range. I also like to see what the limit of the bike is, so I put it in boost mode, went pedal assist 5, and I was able to go more than 31 miles per hour. Now in eco mode, keeping that in mind, it is limited to 20 miles per hour, which is a nice feature to be able to have to quickly switch into eco mode if you don't want to go too fast. Can you go ahead and share some of your impressions when you first jumped on the bike and started riding it?
Yeah, very smooth. It doesn't feel necessarily like a strong e-bike that would just take off without your control. I felt very under control. I think switching between the modes was easy. Smooth, quiet, stable. Overall, just like a very sturdy e-bike.
As you can see here, the bike looks pretty much like a regular bike, and the battery is sleek and well integrated into the frame. It rides very well with no battery assist at all, and you can ride it around the neighborhood and just like a regular bike. It weighs in at a comparatively light 48 pounds, which isn't bad for an e-bike, and it's much easier for other people to handle, including Mallory picking it up. It does have larger wheels and tires, and the comfortable pedal and handlebar design, so it makes it very easy to ride as a regular bike. I could easily ride this home with a dead battery for many, many miles, unlike most other e-bikes where I struggle to go 1 or 2 miles with no battery power at all. I mentioned this earlier, but I covered it in a little bit more detail with some video now. If you want to walk the bike around and you need some assist, you can press and hold down the minus down arrow and have the bike propelled forward at just about 2 miles per hour. If you remove your finger and let go of the button, then the bike will come to a stop. So as you're walking around with a bike, you press and hold the button and keep that held down as you walk the bike and have some level of assist, which can be really useful if you happen to be walking up any inclines and you need a little bit extra to help you carry that 48 pounds. The Breeze 1 is a perfect bike for enjoying a comfortable ride with your family and friends while also serving as a very capable commuter bike. You can get some fenders for it and a rack if you want to turn it into a full commuter. That's all up to you. The Velotric Breeze 1 may be the quietest e-bike I have ever tested. If you didn't know this was an e-bike, you would never be able to tell by riding it. The motor is completely silent, and unlike some bikes that have some whir and sounds and changing gears, there's no sounds on this bike at all. It's very silent. Then again, you might want to use that bell if you're coming up behind somebody because they will not hear you unless you ring the bell. While the bike is silent and unobtrusive, there is a lot of hidden power in this bike as well. Those modes will help you optimize your riding experiences, but also be a bit careful. There's a lot of power here, and you will be able to go pretty fast. It's awesome to have the ability to switch between torque and cadence mode, and that lets you switch it up to your ultimate optimization. I personally prefer cadence mode, which Velotric shows does consume more battery life, and we'll talk about those different modes and our experiences in a bit. The handlebar design is very comfortable with kind of a sweatback design. It has ergonomic rubber grips on the hand grips there to make it very, very comfortable. That Comfort Max seat is also very comfortable. So overall, the whole ride is very flawless. So overall, it's just a comfortable ride that is nice for cruising around the neighborhood. It's got a powerful and capable controller that I've talked about, and that user interface is very easy. The ability to use your phone and sync it over and have all of that capability with the phone and the Find My makes this a great option. There are a lot of buttons on the left side controller, but don't get overwhelmed by that and really take the time to discover all that that has to offer. Also, those turn signal indicators are great. And like the Fold 1 Plus, pressing the button actually has an audible sound as well as a visual on the display, so you'll know if that turn signal is on, and then pushing the button again will turn that off. What would you say are some of your favorite features of the Velotric Breeze 1?
Yeah, I would say safety-wise, especially on the roads near me, I think the blinker feature is really cool. Just knowing that I have those bright lights on without having to wear something bright was nice. And then also just the cadence. I really liked how smooth and how fast you could get up and going, while it also felt really stable, and it also had really good braking. Overall, you just didn't feel wobbly or not in control.
As I always say in every one of my reviews, not every bike is perfect. As you can see on here, there is no suspension on the bike, front or rear, but it does have that excellent seat and the hand grips and the comfort of the handlebars, as I mentioned, so it's still very ergonomic and comfortable to ride. There also are no fenders coming out of the box on this bike. Now, in some areas, that's not a problem. If you're in Florida and other places where there's not a lot of rain and you're not going to ride in the rain, you might not need those fenders. However, you can also pick those up for just $69 from Velotric. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find in a new bike when it's shiny and lots of fun, but is there anything that you would improve upon or anything that you would like to see a little bit different on the bike?
Yeah, good question. It's really hard to pick something, but I guess if I had to, I like a really comfy seat. The seat could be more comfortable. Or maybe the braking could be a little bit quicker, but then that might kind of unstabilize it to be a little bit just like not stable or whatnot. So I don't know. I just felt like you had to give a little bit of time if you're going fast to slow down. But I think that's intuitive, so maybe I'm just not very used to e-bikes slowing down quick.
You can also buy extra seats that are more comfortable as well. Velotric has a seat with a suspension seat post on it, which might fit on this bike, so that would give you some flex in the seat as well. The bike is a bit expensive at $1,790, but when you look at all the features and the performance, then it may be worth it for the rider looking for a cruiser e-bike. Velotric continues to launch amazing bikes in 2025, and the Breeze 1 is a new series focused on those who want a bike for cruising around the neighborhood, local trails, and even commuting. It is a very comfortable and lightweight bike that looks like a regular bike. The Velotric Discover 2 is similar to this bike, but it's significantly heavier with a suspension system, and that's designed for rougher terrain, heavier riders, and conditions that warrant a bit more power. I mentioned in other Velotric reviews that I personally prefer the torque sensor mode that feels more like riding a bike and provides power in response to your force. Mallory switched modes quite a bit while riding, and she actually prefers the cadence mode. She liked the assist provided in response to her pedaling speed, and one reason I haven't liked cadence mode in the past was because of the little bit of a surge that you could often feel after you stop pedaling. I'm pleased to say that after Mallory's experiences, I also put it in that mode, and I barely even noticed any surge, and she mentioned there was no surge. So Velotric makes this comfortable for riding in either torque sensing mode or cadence sensing mode, and you won't have to worry about that kind of unsafe surge that you see in some more powerful bikes. If you were looking for a bike for cruising, would you buy this bike?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the perfect cruising bike on the road in the city. I don't do much trail biking or out in the woods or anything, so for sure.
And what do you think about this color? Is this the preferred color that you would select?
Yeah, definitely. I think it sticks out. It's opalescent, kind of iridescent as well. Very pretty.
I've tested many e-bikes in the past, and you've ridden some of those. I know there were some fat tire bikes, some folding bikes. So you've had some history of at least a little bit of riding with the bikes. How would you compare those bikes to this bike, and what really distinguishes this one from those other ones?
Yeah, I would say I've ridden smaller and bigger ones, whether it comes to the tires or the frame. And this one legit felt like it was made for me. I don't know if that's my height and weight and all that. And then also, I think its turn radius felt very stable compared to other ones. It wasn't as, like, not rinky dinky, but just not as uncomfortable. And I'd also say the cadence was just the big game changer compared to the other bikes, too.
The Breeze 1 is well built, has gorgeous color options, incorporates all of the latest Velotric technology in the controller and display, and it's one of the quietest e-bikes I have ever ridden. The spring launch is perfect as people start heading back outside for bike riding. There are several riding modes and levels of assist that make the bike perfect for someone who wants to exercise or someone who wants to cruise along with minimal effort. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me here, and stay tuned for more coverage of e-bikes, wearables, and other mobile technology. And may the mobile force be with you.